Mentioned earlier, coached a lot of grand finals, coached the Hearts for 18 years, you know, and it's an amazing effort for the people he's had to put up with, the behaviours and all the odd things that happen at training, and we just sort of look at each other and go, geez. But, you know, we're still hanging in there, and it's forever entertaining, and just want to give the award to Peter just for his services this year.
Fitzroy, playing coach at Warrnambool, the 4 premierships. We can see him every Monday night with Hutchie and giving Caroline Heat on their show on Channel 9 at 10:30. Good talk back. Ball, ladies and gentlemen, Grant Thomas.
Stand behind me. I've got a good record. Still pulling knives out of my back. I've heard Peter talk a few times, and it's a great effort, Peter, coaching for as long as you have, and 18 years here. Although I do think you're getting a little bit soft by asking your players not to try and be like Ben Cousins or Buddy Franklin or Gary Ablett. Why not? You know, you've got a day, 2 hours to do whatever you want to do. The funny thing about footy is during a game of footy, you can go out there and do whatever you want to. And it's one place where everyone's the same. You just go out and let it rip and try and emulate anyone you want to emulate and be like anyone you want to be like. So that's a good thing. And when I hear and think of some of the trials and tribulation Peter's been through over 18 years, and I think of the problems that we had at St Kilda a few times, I think, well, hang on. They really weren't problems, you know, there's only little mishaps. I mean, they probably happen to you guys every single day, but, you know. And then I started thinking, well, hang on, you guys are undefeated for 2 years. And here's me standing up in front of my team for 6 years trying to talk to them about values, trying to talk to them about honesty, trying to talk to them about integrity and character and all of those, you know, good values, community values that we have. And then you guys have won every game for 2 years. So it's not a really good advertisement, you know, for what you guys are doing. And I'm trying to think in my head, well, how can we make this a little bit better? But it's an outstanding effort to be undefeated in 2 years. You've got a big challenge today, obviously, and you're very well coached. I hope you got a good president. I didn't have one, but I hope you got a good president. And I'm sure everything will go along honky-dory. There wouldn't be a grand final breakfast if we didn't spare a couple of moments talking about this year and who might win and who might lose. And I thought I'd just mainly focus on those 4 teams. Obviously Western Bulldogs. Any Western Bulldogs supporters here? I see. Jackson, young Jackson. I met young Jackson on the way in. And look, they're faltering a little bit. They get a bit stumbly when it gets hard and tough, unfortunately, the Bulldogs. They're always a pleasure to play against. They never got hurt. But they're a very skillful side, but I'm just not certain whether or not they're going to be able to be hard and tough enough in a really demanding final series. And especially Barry Hall coming on board is going to help them enormously, but I don't know whether that's going to be the difference between winning and losing. They moved up and down this year. They haven't, you know, coming off a sensational year last year when they nearly went through undefeated. And look, I'm hopeful that they're going to start to get more consistent with their form. And the difference with the Saints, I reckon, this year is they're a little bit too heavily focused on defence. And Peter will be telling you guys that defence is really important, especially when the opposition's got the footy, and that's right. But when you actually get the footy, you've got to take a few risks. Because if you don't take risks, you don't win. You can't get through life just being conservative because you get pushed to the back of the line. So you've actually got to roll the dice at some point in time and put yourself out there and test yourself. And it's a little bit like Ross talking before, which, you know, I thought was an outstanding talk, Ross, and a great example of someone who actually confronted the circumstances they're in and went through the fear, and then the next time the fear was less, and the next time the fear was less, and the next time the fear was less, and that's the challenge that we've all got in life. and doesn't matter who you are, everyone's got that. And I think St Kilda just need to maybe be a bit less fearful. I don't know whether it's Ross because he's such a hard-ass type of coach that players are fearful, but I think the Saints have got to walk through that door of fear when they've got the ball and be a bit more attacking and a bit more assertive, and I think they'll score more heavily because scoreboard pressure is really important. You guys know that when you've got some good score on the board, it's very intimidating for the opposition. And if you keep the game very close, whilst you might be in front, the opposition's always close enough to win. And I think that's one concern I have about the Saints. They're very defensive, best in the business, but they've got to make better use of their forwards. And look at a team like Geelong, who have taken all before them for the last 4 or 5 years, have been an absolutely sensational side. They've got great players in every area of the ground and are an absolute delight to watch. I love the way they play the game. They've got a perfect balance of offence and defence. When the opposition's got the ball, as Peter said before, they put great pressure on and force mistakes and errors, and a lot of it's imposed. It's sort of mental. It's like the opposition get the ball and they're waiting to get tackled or harassed by the Geelong players, and they make mistakes, and that imposed pressure is a fair bit. And you guys today have got to realise that there's been some intimidation in the game today because both teams are undefeated. They don't know what you've got. You don't know what they've got. But you don't know what you've got. And that's the important thing. And the opposition, they'll have a bit of intimidation. You've got to use that to your advantage. Geelong definitely do, especially when they've got the footy. There's no better team moving the ball pretty arrogantly in a lot of ways. They use the corridor, put the ball into dangerous positions, take risks, but they score heavily and usually do a fantastic job. And I think their team is definitely going to be playing in the grand final, I would think. Collingwood, any Collingwood supporters, is usually fantastic. Mick Malthouse seems to have been around for 100 years, and I remember when I was 15 years of age walking into St Kilda Footy Club and meeting Mick Malthouse as a player, who then left and went to Richmond to play, and he's been coaching for 28, 30 years, whatever it is, and only won 2 premierships, but I think he's coaching better now than he's ever coached before. He has got Collingwood. I think they are the best team in the competition, and when I say team, I mean team. They're not necessarily the best equipped or anything else, or like the best players, but they play as a team better than any other side, and I think that's their greatest asset. They spread the workload really evenly amongst everyone. Everyone's got to make a contribution. They don't have any passengers. That's what you guys have got to be like today as well. Everyone's got to make their contribution. They focus on effort rather than performance, and what I mean by that is we all look to performance, and performance is things like stats, kicks, handballs, score. They're all outcomes. They happen at the end, whereas what we should be focusing on is the inputs, the things you do, the effort. And the effort is what Sacred Heart has to focus on today. It's going to be the difference between winning and losing. If they put in 100% effort from 100% of the team, 100% of the time, you'll win the game. And if you lose the game, you still win the game, because you've given everything you possibly can, and that's the message your coach gave. And I think Collingwood are really good at that. They expect 100% off every player every day. They play really well as a team. They're selfless. They sacrifice themselves. One of the biggest measurements in footy, as far as I'm concerned, is score assists. Now, everyone talks about hard ball gets and contested balls and inside 50s and all that stuff. I think score assists are the most important and compelling thing. And you might say, why? Well, the reason is that tells me that if you have the most score assists, that means that you are the most selfless team, and your head is about giving the ball to a teammate in a better position to score, and it shows that you get a greater sense of achievement and a greater sense of fulfilment in someone else getting a score than you getting a score yourself. Now, that's selflessness. and selflessness is a key indicator in my mind to successful footy. And I think Collingwood are doing that better than anyone else. They're very, very even, and they make a contribution right across the board. Some personalities, and you can tell exactly who, you can describe exactly everything about a person by the way they play. I can tell you that Stephen Milne can not rest for a moment in a team meeting. He's up and down, he's buzzing around like a bee in a bottle, he's always laughing, cracking jokes. Now, that comes as no surprise to you because you guys see him play over the weekend, he's exactly the same. So his personality on the footy field exactly tells you about what sort of person he is. And you know that Chris Judd is a very studious person. It will be no surprise to you that Chris Judd doesn't read the sports papers or the Herald Sun or the Age. Every day he reads a Fin Review because that's what Chris Judd's like. And you know that. And footy is an expression of who you are as a person. And I think that's a really important thing to understand. And each time you play, you've got 2 hours to try and tell yourself and everyone else around you who you are. Are you a hard person, a person that can be relied on, a person that can be dependable? Are you a team person? Are you a selfless person? All of these attributes that in that 2 hours when you play a game of footy, you've got an opportunity to show. Now, it doesn't really matter what you do in the other, 6.5 days of the week. That's your business. But when you play footy in a team sport, you give it everything you've got and you show everyone who you actually really are. So irrespective of who you are before today's grand final or who you are after today's grand final, in that 2 hours, you just get out there and show them who you really are as a person. And you play as a team and you play as hard as you possibly can. And that's my message for you guys, is that football's not about football. Football is an expression of who you are as a person. It's like art. You draw something on a canvas, it reflects who you are. You play football, it is your expression of who you are as a person. Who do you want to be? That's the question I asked you today. That's the question Peter's going to ask you today. That's the question all of the supporters are going to ask you today. And the answer is what you guys do in the 2 hours. That's what's going to be given. And as I said, whichever way it goes, 100% effort from 100% of the team, 100% of the time, you're winners anyway. All the best. That's a bad call. Caroline got me sacked from the Age. I wasn't too happy at the time. But Caroline Wilson, I've gone to, not love her, but I've grown to admire and respect her over the last 2 years doing the show. A lot of people think we hate each other, but we actually don't. I've got a lot of respect for her. I think she's got more football intelligence and credibility than most other football people they come across. And have women in sport at her level, I think, is a really important thing for the game. And I think she's very, very talented.